welcome to the fourth installment, I believe, Dr. Lopkin, of Carnivore Bites, our weekly podcast on relevant issues of the week. And I think the 800-pound elephant in the room, Dr. Lopkin, is the upheaval in the administration. First, let's gauge the seriousness. Is Trump starting to unravel in your estimation?
I don't think he's starting to unravel. I think the problem is he is still approaching everything like a boss. And Washington traditionally has done everything by committee, by consensus, and he's
by
having
special interest.
Yeah, and he's having a problem adapting his style. So when people aren't working with him and they're trying to do things by committee, whatever, instead of just doing their job, he fires them.
Yeah, but the question is that you need to adapt your style to the environment, and I'm a little surprised in how tone deaf he is. Like, for instance...
Oh, I'm very surprised that he hasn't been able to adapt yet.
Exactly. Like, for instance, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, time flies, things are going well for him, the tax bill's in, his popularity starts going up. And what does he do? Tariffs. I mean, the inappropriate nature of his timing just leads you to believe, does he just enjoy controversy?
He may. I mean, the tariffs were something that he did make a campaign promise that he was going to do.
I understand, but a lot of people make, and it's also about timing, though, Doc. You mean there's been enough upheaval, let things chill out for a while, then maybe do it after the midterms. It didn't have to be done immediately.
See, I think that's the key problem. We have come to expect from our leaders that, one, they're not going to do what they campaigned on, and two, they're going to take their time and spend. Trump has not done that. Trump has been very clear about doing exactly what he campaighed on and doing it as fast as possible. He's trying to cram everything in.
I understand that, and I think that's noteworthy and admirable. But I guess the question is, like, when he's doing all this, I feel that what's happening is, for instance, the tariffs. You can call it what you will, but he's really reversing 50 years of horrible trade deals that favored other countries and put America not first, but last. Do you agree with that?
Right. I mean, people keep saying, oh, the tariffs are going to get us into a trade war. We've been in a trade war. We never fired back.
That's well said. That's what I'm saying. So why is the deep state so upset that he's pushing back? I believe the deep state are big corporate globalists. That's the real power base of this. They could give a flying you-know-what about America. It's all about global corporate interest. And America's just one more stomping ground on their big, pursuit of global domination in terms of from a business financial standpoint. So they have no vested interest in America's success or failure. That's just another product life cycle to them. They'll move on to the next, rising star, which seems to be China. I guess my point is, do you think there's any validity to that fact that maybe these the entrenched state, their deep state, are really pushing back because they're scared to death, because their real power their real orientation is globalism, not nationalism?
Oh, certainly. They don't really have any interest in nationalism. Their goal is sell their products. Well, for the last 10 years, the fact of the matter is, the biggest market on the planet has been China, and they don't want to do anything to rock the boat or anything that's going to make it even more difficult for them to sell there.
Aren't the same global interests, the same people, and I know this because I was involved in it over the last 30 years, that took a third world country incapable of anything, China, and made it into a global superpower? They're the ones who did it. They transferred the technology for their short-term financial gain.
Right. They needed to create more markets, and that's what they did.
Right. And also get cheap manufacturing for their products so they can sell it globally more efficiently. So, last question, Dr. Lopkin. does Trump have the energy and muscle to fight off the deep state, or do you think it's starting to erode as we speak in terms of his his sustainability?
I think he's going to keep fighting. The simple fact of the matter is, this is someone who has almost never backed down from fights. I don't think he's going to start now.
I don't think so. What happens at the 2018 elections, midterms?
Depends on what happens between then and now. I know, the Democrats are trying to focus on DACA. There was a number of commentators saying this morning that they don't want DACA solved before the midterms because they want to campaign on that they're the ones fighting for it.
By the way, if they do, that will be the worst mistake they make, because that's their elitist mentality. Joe Lunchpail, it does the reverse that they think. I mean, in other words, putting undocumented or illegal aliens ahead of the actual citizenry is not a winning prescription.
No, it really isn't.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lopkin. That's our 4th edition of Carnivore Bites. We'll reconvene next week.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you, and see you next week.